紙可以千變萬化。
Paper to me is solid, like rock.
Paper allows me to change people's attitudes and perceptions.
喺任何一個地方，如果我哋見到紙嘅時候，都會用思考嘅方法去諗下呢一張紙裝出嚟係會做到咩嘅作品。
Steeped in taboos and traditions, rituals surrounding death are, more often than not, manifestations of the human desire for continuance beyond death. Rituals help us accept and cope with this cessation of life and the loss of our loved ones. According to traditional Chinese beliefs, the act of burning paper replicas delivers these paper offerings to the underworld for their departed family. The Chinese believe that it is up to the living to ensure that their departed loved ones are cared for financially and materially in the underworld, since the deceased goes empty-handed to their next life. Upholding this tradition of paper offerings in cosmopolitan Hong Kong is Chung Kin and Pin Chi. While Chung Kin is a veteran in the paper offerings trade, Pin Chi is the youngest upstart in the business. Pin Chi caters to a niche market, specializing in trendy paper offerings for the young who have passed on.
幾年前咧就興滑板車嗰年咧，就喺上網啊雜誌就做咗架滑板車出嚟。
咁佢自己咧就有啲自己嘅心思嘅嘢嘅，但係佢做嗰啲嘢咧同我哋做又唔同啦。
In contrast to Pin Chi, Chung Kin leans towards the traditional array of luxury paper replicas, conferring status and affluence for the deceased. From paper limousines and majestic mansions to house servants, Chung Kin has done it all over a span of 4 decades in the paper offering trade.
咁啊，呢個叫妹體，妹體嘅意思咧，妹就係一個女嘅工人，體係一個男嘅工人。
In ancient times, it is ubiquitous to have a pair of male and female house servants to help out in the household. The male house servant takes charge of the manual work in the household, while the female house servant waits on the ladies of the house. Deriving from this blissful household scenario, burning a pair of house servants is believed to ease the departed's passage to the underworld.
佢哋會係做多啲咁，多到幾多咧？30-40對，即係100幾十人都有嘅。因為佢屋企根本係如果以前係一個富有嘅家庭，咁佢死咗之後咧，佢都好希望話喺一個富有嘅家庭裏頭更加生活。咁但係你話咁個窮人會唔會做100幾十對咧？都係有嘅喎。點解又會咁做咧？因為佢以前咧係冇一個富有嘅家庭，我而家死咗，我想好富有啦。咁而家呢個思想咧就好得意嘅。點樣失意法咧？人生嘅嘢就係咁啦。如果你生前有嘅嘢，你死後就好想繼續擁有。
While Chung Kin and Pin Chi helms the paper offering scene in Hong Kong, Sophie from Eco Coffins pioneers her original and 100% environmentally friendly coffins in Cambridge, England. For Sophie, the choice of paper is just a small step towards preserving the earth.
We first had the idea for eco coffins about 6 years ago. I discovered that cardboard coffins up until now have been very, very poorly designed, and they're not attractive and they're not reliable. So we took a long time to decide who we could find in the UK that could provide us with the material that we needed. So we were very delighted to find the company that had 40 years experience in the recycled movement and a board that could be strong enough to withstand weights of considerable amounts.
We've been making paper honeycomb, as you see here, from recycled paper. Traditionally, it's been used in the door market to make lightweight internal doors. But as you see here, we're now producing paper honeycomb coffins.
Surprisingly, when people think of cardboard, they don't realise how strong it can be, as it is with our coffins.
Currently, 80% of the UK market is buried in chipboard. Chipboard is mostly made from particles of wood bonded together with formaldehyde, which is environmentally unfriendly.
A chipboard veneer is really not where we think the next generation will look to. So we wanted to be the mainstream environmental alternative to that.
While Sophie sees the use of paper as a worthy cause, Pinchy uses paper to transform his ideas into tangible three-dimensional forms.
我做啲較為年輕化同埋潮流化嘅，好似有 MP3 啊、相機啊、波鞋啊、滑板車啊、手袋啊。有一年就喺報紙見到有啲年輕人犧牲，即係而家冇分年齡啊嘛，嗰啲過身嗰啲，就我想做啲新潮嘅嘢俾佢哋。
Following in his father's footsteps, Pinchy takes to the paper offerings business like a duck to water.
之前讀咗幾年設計，跟住就畢業之後出嚟幫我爸爸手咯。我爸爸佢即係做咗呢行幾十年咯，跟住我覺得呢行會有神秘感同埋挑戰性。
While Pinchy is still a relative novice at the trade, Chungkin has been churning out paper offerings for pretty much his entire life. In his line of work, Chungkin interacts with people from all walks of life. While most of Chungkin's customers are ordinary citizens, the rich and famous also patronize his shop. As such, Chungkin has done his fair share of celebrity sightings. So, are these rich and famous patrons more demanding and difficult to please?
因為點解咧？如果係普通嘅咧，就係收普通嘅錢；係名人咧，係有要求同埋佢要嘅數量係大，咁佢咧個價值咧係梗係比一般市民咧係多好多嘅。咁係有好多時咧，因為啲名人啊或者係明星啊，佢哋咧係會有佢哋嘅思想係與我哋普通人係唔同嘅。咁點為之唔同啊？因為好似梅艷芳，佢生命係中意喺一個舞台度生活嘅，咁佢會做一個大舞台。咁所以如果你話你做市集嘅冇思考，未曾見過個大舞台或者唔識做咧，咁你就係賺佢唔到錢嘅。
Famous or otherwise, everyone is equal at the end of the day. Sophie understands that, and she takes pride in being part of a movement to provide an alternative resting place that is cutting edge and environmentally friendly.
I'm very interested in environmental issues. My husband comes from a marketing background, and so the two sort of came together, and I said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could change the way people think about funerals and about choice and do something very creative. The idea of bringing colour and designs in was also very important because I wanted to make a funeral a celebration of a life lived.
While Sophie had an eye on the future, it was an uphill struggle as she seeks to change the perception of people whose beliefs were firmly rooted in the past.
The funeral industry in the UK is very traditional, and so the idea of a cardboard coffin, we need to educate the public as well as the funeral directors to show that it is extremely strong. A different generation is thinking about the impact of the environment, and so I don't think that a lot of people will be buried or cremated in chipboard.
And also it's a mind shift from where people were 10, 15 years ago to thinking that yes, a cardboard coffin, it's recycled, it's biodegradable, it's 100% environmentally friendly.
With a dazzling array of the latest trends and fashion, you'd be forgiven for thinking that you're in a shopping mall. Take a closer look and you'll discover that Hong Kong is truly a shopping paradise, even for the dead.
呢個就其中一件作品 MP3 啦，佢仲可以聽嘅，你可以入咩歌入去都可以。
From gadgets to designer handbags, shopping has never been better in the Underworld. And Pinchy makes sure that our dearly departed gets a piece of the action too.
呢個手袋多數係啲女士買嘅咯。係一次做呢個手袋，有個女士攞幅圖嚟叫我訂做咯。佢訂嚟燒俾啲朋友咯。嗰個客睇完，即係我整好咗個完成品，個客見到好滿意、好開心，所以就 keep 住再整嗰幾個咯。我覺得做紙紮可以將一張紙變成立體，咁神秘感啲咯。而家就黐嗰個手袋嗰個扣上去咯，而家黐埋條拉鏈上去咯。完成300蚊。
While Pinchy might excel in making things for the dead, it is among the living that he feels most inspired. It is Pinchy's norm to lose himself in a crowd every now and then to keep his creative edge. Worlds away in England, Sophie draws on a different kind of strength and encouragement to continue in her championing of environmentally friendly burials.
One of my most surprising memories on this journey that I've been on has been I was just completely by chance walking along the street taking my daughter to school, and my daughter turned around and she said, Mum, look, there's a funeral. And I turned around and there was a very traditional funeral parlour chap with a cane and a top hat in a procession coming down the road in Cambridge. And as he stopped, he bowed to me and my daughter, and he bowed to the coffin, and I looked up and it was one of my coffins. There was a poppy and sky in the hearse, and I thought, that's amazing, how fantastic.
The poppies and sky design may be very popular amongst customers of Eco Coffin, but that doesn't stop Sophie from being on a constant lookout for new ideas and designs to print on the paper coffins.
If I was given a choice of who I would have designed a coffin for, it would have been Anita Roddick, the founder of The Body Shop, because her whole philosophy behind her business was to protect the environment. So what better in death to be buried or cremated in an eco-coffin? In terms of design, I would have chosen something to do with nature because she was obviously a great advocate for that. And to use recycled products with water-based inks and glues that are environmentally friendly is really what we're about.
At Eco Coffins, customers are encouraged to personalise the paper coffins. They can choose their own motif to print on the coffin or simply decorate a plain white coffin. The signature coffin here allows friends and families of the deceased to doodle and write their last messages.
There was that chap who was a courier, and he said, I don't want anything fussy. I've been moving parcels for the most of my life. I'd like to be a parcel when I die. So his family said, this is fantastic, we'll have a signature coffin. All the family will come and write messages and do their signatures. And they also made it sort of fragile, handle with care, this way up. So for us to be able to create something that is very personal is terrific.
For Sophie, this participation symbolises that the last passage is not a forlorn farewell, but rather a celebration of a life that was lived to the fullest.
In the UK, there is an element where you are taken away from the process. And I think as human beings, we need to be part of that process because death is as important as life.
A lot of funeral directors are family-run businesses. It's hard to change, and it's hard for any industry to change. But what we've seen recently in the funeral trade is increasing customer choice.
When we met Sophie and Ben, they told us of the idea of the honeycomb cardboard coffins. We thought it was tremendous. At that stage, there wasn't anything like it in the market, and we saw a very good future for it.
People want personalised funerals. They don't necessarily want what's been done before. So there's an element of choice, and the environment's certainly coming into that as well. So people are choosing personalised funerals, and they're choosing funerals that are friendly for the environment. So this has brought along recently, over the last 5 years or so, big changes in the funeral industry. It's actually very exciting working with them in this time of change.
Located just outside Cambridge, the paper coffins are being manufactured and assembled by hand at the last stage. This paper honeycomb is what gives the paper coffin its strength and its lightweight properties. The end result of the factory process is a white-face graphic board, which becomes the perfect canvas for any chosen design. After printing, the whiteboard is cut to size on this vacuum table. The final step in the completion of the paper coffin requires hand assembly. All the components have to fit together to give the coffin the required integrity and rigidity. Some say that by ourselves we can enjoy life, but to really appreciate life, we must find companionship. Assuming that this illustrates the universal need for companionship, the Chinese tradition of burning paper effigies to their departed kin is understandable. These paper effigies take on various roles and persona. As far as paper companions go, the paper effigy nurse is a very popular choice amongst the Chinese. The reason is simple enough, even though it may seem baffling at first. The departed kin may have passed on because of poor health or illness. As such, the family wants to make sure that he is well taken care of in his next life by a professional caregiver in the form of a nurse. The paper nurse is thus the embodiment of the family's love and remembrance of the departed.
我哋做紙紮咧，最緊要尺寸。咁如果尺寸準咧，係好易做嘅；如果尺寸唔準咧，就唔準咧，就好容易做咗出嚟嗰件嘢係唔得嘅，因為佢要講平唔平衡咯。咁我哋首先咧就係做咗嗰條頸先。我師傅係90幾歲，就差唔多90歲啊。佢啲徒弟都已經死晒啦，死剩我啫。我哋而家呢個行業都冇人咯，你唔做咪都唔知邊個幫佢做。 冇啦，得幾間啫嘛。我哋而家做呢一個咧，係只不過紮一個好簡單嘅廊咧，但佢黏咗出嚟咧係要好似嘅。好啦，第一個項目就做完啦。呢個係頭，頭都有分嘅，男人條眼眉粗啲嘅，女人係幼啲嘅。我哋首先咧就做咗條裙，然後做上半身。 咁跟住束翻條腰帶，咁整翻個手咧，咁就 OK 嘅啦。
While business is good for Chungkin the whole year round, the 7th lunar month is traditionally his busiest period. During this month, he gets his fair share of special requests.
有啲人咧做成隊曼聯球隊落去，成隊波做晒落去，好麻煩嘅而家呢個世界啲人。
The paper nurse may be very sought after, but she plays second fiddle to the set of 4 mahjong buddies that comes complete with a mahjong table and mahjong tiles. This goes to show how much Hong Kongers love this game of luck, skill and strategy.
唔知點解個護士都有把鉸剪，好叻啦！好啦，今日搞掂，拜拜。
Don't be fooled by this old building. It actually houses some of the hottest alternative offerings in the underworld. Chungkin operates from this seemingly ramshackled location because it is ideal for his workshop. He does not do walk-in sales from this location. Orders for his paper offerings come through the temples via fax and phone.
喺呢個地區度做嘅有一個最好嘅地方咧，就係因為呢度咧係冇人理嘅，呢個斜路咧係冇人泊車嘅，條街係冇人行嘅，咁 我哋咧就可以咧將啲紙紮嘅製品咧擺晒喺度，因為做紙紮咧佢個物體啊好大嘅，咁需要好多好空餘嘅地方，咁所以咧就係呢度係最適合我嘅。
We can very well imagine that the Underworld must be a very cushy place with all the gadgets and worldly comforts conjured by our 3 paper maestros. While they may only be paper, it is no less fascinating what our artists can do with the material.
Wow, I'm really excited. This is a photographer that I've liked his work for years, and he does wonderful seascapes in Norfolk in England. And so I went to see him and I said, you know, you'll think this is a crazy idea, but I'd love your photographs to be on coffins for us because we find them so creative and so imaginative. And a lot of people in England like to be buried with the idea of sea. What do you think?
It's come out fantastic. The colours are very true.
It's very serene, very calm.
Yeah.
Let's see what the side's like. We're going to have to, with the image, we're going to have to see that the horizons match up all the way around so that it still works as an image.
A simple piece of paper may seem insignificant to us, but through the eyes of our artists, it presents endless possibilities. Take the paper coffin. It starred in the Hollywood movie Powder Blue.
Promoting and marketing eco-coffins in some ways is easy because it's a very interesting, very creative product to be working with. We've had lots of publicity. Something that's happening soon is a new Hollywood blockbuster called Powder Blue. This will be starring an eco-coffin alongside Patrick Swayze and
Ray Liotta, one of my
Ray Liotta.
favourite actors.
Yeah.
I asked him obviously to come and collect the coffin himself, but he can't. When this film comes out, it will be a huge opportunity for eco-coffins because the US market and the international market will realise that a director has chosen to go green.
紙係我嘅世界。
紙喺呢個社會上咧都非常之重要嘅，但係對我嚟講咧係生命之源。
In the future, all funerals will be environmentally friendly.
Let your last footprint be a green one.